Hey everybody, it's Lisa with the Vintage Gypsy. I am also the admin for the Silhouette Cameo School for Newbies. We tried to do a live last night on how to set up or create faux rhinestone designs using the Facebook Live, but you can't see my pop-up boxes. So I told you guys I would do another one. So here is how you would set up for faux rhinestones. In case you know what faux rhinestones are, I can't even say it today. It is another way to do rhinestones without having to actually buy rhinestones, and it's not as heavy. So if you look at my shirt, looks like rhinestones, but it's really not. And here's another one. So basically faux rhinestones is taking holographic HTV and making rhinestone designs with it. Any type of font can be used to make a rhinestone design out of any design that you have. The Silhouette store actually has some already set up that way, and you can just go to the Silhouette store and search library, or in the library, and search for rhinestones, and they'll pop up. There's a lot of sites out there. If you Google rhinestone templates, you can get a lot that way. Sorry, or Rhinestone Fonts, and you can find some that way. Sometimes it's kind of hard to find free ones, but I'll show you one of the ones that I have. So basically, before you get started, go ahead and turn on your heat press, because that's going to be important. You're going to press at 305. I had mine at 320 the other night, which was way too hot for it. Medium pressure, which I never change my pressure unless it's like a thicker, sweatshirt or something like that. About 10 to 15 seconds, and it's a hot or cold peel. Now mine, I did not peel it when it was hot because it's not like super hot, so I like shook it a little bit to cool it off, and then I was able to peel it off. Make sure you do your test cut settings for this because it is a different type of material than HTV. It's more plastic-like, so it's going to have a harder time to cut through, and I'll show you what cut settings that I use. You still mirror it, you still put the shiny side down on your mat. None of that changes at all. And the other thing that you can do is, typically when you're doing a rhinestone design, you have to know what size your rhinestones are going to be first, because you have to go ahead and do your sizing of your design before you make it a rhinestone. Because if you tweak it at all or make it bigger or smaller, then the rhinestone size changes. You don't have to worry about that using faux rhinestones, because we're not actually putting anything in, but it still looks like rhinestones, right? Okay, so I'm going to show you real quick how we do that, how you would make a design with it. So I'm just going to type in a font. We'll just use this one again because that's what we saw the other night. So here is one. Let me zoom in so you guys can see better. So here it is. I'm going to go ahead and change it. It does better with fonts that are kind of thicker. So I'm going to go to the right-hand toolbar and click on my font library, which is where all my fonts live. I'm actually going to scroll up because I have some that I've used before. These are some of the ones I use a lot. Okay, so your rhinestones lives down in, now you're going to notice that this is probably bigger than what's on your screen because I've changed my preferences and I've made my icons bigger because I'm old and I can't see. You may not have all the functionality of doing custom rhinestone designs with basic or designer. You're just going to have to play with it to see. If not, you can always upgrade. We do have a link in our pinned post where you can go and upgrade for the software along with our coupon code. So rhinestones, of course, it looks like a diamond. Then it's going to pop up. So there are a couple different ways you can do rhinestones. This one means none. This one means just do the outline. So watch my word butter. I'm just doing the outline of it. If I want to do this one, basically it just squares things off a little bit. So watch how it changes. Let me zoom in some more. Okay, so let me zoom out just a tad. And then one more. This is more of a circular, so it's not as full. When I'm talking about the sizes, the actual real rhinestones come in like 6S, 10S, 16, 20. The most popular size is 10SS. So if I change my design to that, you notice that they got smaller. So you can see the smaller the number, the smaller the rhinestone. And this one are bigger dots, okay? Or you can freehand change it this way. Now I will tell you, when you cut these, it takes a long time to cut because it's cutting a lot of cuts. It takes a long time, so give yourself enough time. You can space them out. how much space you want between each rhinestone. You need to make sure that, as you can tell by looking on the screen, there is space between them, because that way it has places to cut. Now, if you see this one right here, that one I need to fix, because if you have any that are overlapping, it's going to cut that way. So at this point, that's what this release rhinestones button is. It's basically like releasing the compound pad for rhinestones. And it takes a few seconds because there's so many things in here. See how they all light up now? But this one I can move over. I need to take one of these out, so I can just delete it. See, this one's not spaced very well. But make sure you can still read what your design is. And I'm just going to glance around to make sure that they're all okay. So those are about the only ones that I had to mess with, right? Now you want to make sure that you put them all back in. So usually I just group them. Select everything. And you can group here in your top toolbar, or you can right click. I like my top toolbar. It takes it a little longer because there's so many individual pieces there. Okay, so this would be ready to cut at this point in time. How you cut it, you go to the send, you like that, cut it, you go to the send button, and you're going to make sure that you have tested for holographic. I do not think that there's a custom setting in here. Let me look. There is not. So what I did with mine is I went in and did some test cuts of my own. I use the premium blade. I don't use the auto blade. Anytime you're using premium blade, you need to set it to ratchet. Or if you want to make the auto blade act like a ratchet blade, you need to use this functionality here. Okay, so I'm going to set my blade to 5. My speed is at 6 because you do want it to be a little slower because it takes, if you go any faster, it'll tend to pick up those little bits of circles or the faux rhinestones that we have. My force is at 15. I'm only going to do one pass. Now, one thing that I do differently here that I haven't done in most any other design that I've ever done is I have checked this box here. So if I click these 3 dots, it's going to tell you that it's a line segment overcut. What that means is when it cuts out a design, it's going to cut over the edge a little bit. So like where the circle for the rhinestone will connect here, it's going to overcut it so that it pulls out evenly. If you don't overcut that, sometimes our circles don't always pull out, and there's always a little tag that's there. I had a graphic designer on one of the videos I watched say that, because if you do the overcut, it makes it a lot easier for things to weed out. So I leave that there. I leave my settings at 0.10, and I don't change anything else here at that point in time. And then I just go ahead and cut it like I normally do. But this is my own custom setting that I have here, and you can create your own simply by going in and adding new material type. Most all my settings that I use are custom ones because I do go through and do my test cuts to find my, like butter settings, okay? So that's basically how that would work for doing that. Now, you're going to cut them all the same way once you have your test cuts all done. Save that setting so you always have it. Now, you can also do designs from the Silhouette store. So I actually may have things in here that are rhinestone already. That makes life easier. See how I have some that's already in here? So I could just pull them in and go ahead and use them. But I can also use just a design. So I'm going to take one of my chickens, and I'm going to ungroup them all because I don't need them all. And I just want to do one of them. Okay, so I'm going to show you again with a chicken. You can do just the outline. So I'm going to select my chicken and do the outline. See how that works? And you can change the size of your rhinestones. Now, that's not going to be a huge deal because we're not using real rhinestones. You can make it however you want. You want to make sure that you can identify this as an actual chicken. I can do a fill-in. So look at the difference in the fill-in. This is more squared off. And if I do the circular, it gives you more of an option where it looks rounded like a chicken. But you want to check again to make sure there's no overlaps or anything like that. And I typically fill mine in just because that's just how I am about lots of things. I always fill in my designs exactly how I want it to look when it's finished. I do always typically turn off my line color because when you add the line to it, it actually adds a little bit of a thickness around your designs. So I take that off here because I don't want too much interfering, and I want as much space as I can get between each cut. So that's how you would do that. So pretty much any design that you have in there. Now, there are Rhinestone Fonts, so I'll show you one of those that I have. So I just type in my name, And the rhinestone fonts that you would buy elsewhere outside the Silhouette store actually live inside your font library. And mine is called S17 October 14. I don't know why, but that's what it's called. And it's already pre-done. I don't have to do anything else with it. I don't have to change anything. I don't have to tweak it. It's good to go. Okay? But I can take a regular font. Okay, now this gets a little tricky because not all fonts work well with making them into rhinestones. The one that I used recently is the strawberry script, so watch it now. Okay, I'm going to go back to my rhinestone panel. This does the outline, remember. So if you were to put this on a shirt like this, the outline shows the color of the shirt. Okay? Or I can fill it in. Circular gives it more of a flow and might fill in a little bit more. But this one, you're going to notice I'm going to have to go in and fix the overlaps. So you simply release them and move them out. Now, freehand means you can go in and actually place individually rhinestones. So like if you had a design, you just wanted to put a few on, you could do that. So like this little bird. Let's bring this bird in if it'll let me. Let me zoom out here. I didn't do this in the video the other day, but oh my goodness, I always get click happy. Super sorry about that. So like for my little bird right here, I could actually go in and make these dots into rhinestones if I wanted to. So I could click on this one, this one. Okay, so that's the idea of doing freehand. You just add in what you want and where you want them. So those are a couple different ways that you can make faux rhinestones, and I showed you the cut settings. Now what you want to make sure before you cut, though, is you have to mirror it because you are using actual HTD. So you're going to right-click and click flip horizontal. It's a big fancy word. All it means is mirror. Just flip it that other way. So always remember that you do need to mirror it. Okay, so here are the press settings that is recommended for it. Make sure you do your chest presses to make sure it's a good cut for you, a good press for you, because sometimes not all heat presses heat the same. Or maybe your heat press doesn't heat evenly all the way across. So make sure you use that Teflon sheet on top of it as well. Which I probably should put that in there, because that is going to help distribute the heat across your design as well. Okay? If you guys have any questions, you can always get a hold of me on the board. Join our group, be in the group if you're not already in the group. And I hope this answers your questions about doing some faux rhinestones. I actually have a live video that I did on how to press it and what it looks like on the shirt. But this is the finished product of what faux rhinestones do look like. Pretty snazzy, huh? Okay, I will talk to you guys later. Have a good night.